Joe,
Joe,
Tristan,
Gina,
Mark, Conrad,
Peter,
Catherine,
Jane,
Zoran,
Paula,
Carl,
Maureen, Saroja,
Jack,
Simon,
Tassie, look, Tassie,
Lockie,
Maureen,
Dean,
and then we
Simon.
have Simon and Michael
Michael,
and Joseph. Yes. And coming over to Bob.
Good morning, Bob. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you. And you all know what it's all about. The same old, same old. What they call non-duality. Non-duality means not two. One without a second. Pointing out there's just one essence or intelligence, energy, or whatever label you like to put on it. You can call it God if you like, or whatever. That's all there is. And they try to express it 5 factors: Sat Chit Ananda Nama Rupa. Existence, consciousness, bliss, name and form. Anyone who is not existing? No, you're all existing. Anyone who's not conscious or unaware? And you know that, you're not unaware, you're conscious. Anyone who's not happy to be, doesn't want to be here. Well, most of you would be rather be here than not, somewhere else, I guess. I don't mean on the word. So, if everyone said that is all there is, you all must be already that. So, what's the search all about? Who's seeking? And in the seeking, you're trying to become something. Recognise its impossibility. How can it be? It's impossible to become something that you already are. But we've taken on this belief that we are these individuals, these persons, the separate entities. And realise the great mantra they talk about is I am that. And each one of us knows that I am. And it's thatness that I am which is not the body or the mind, but which enlivens the body. Thatness that's rolling the earth around the sun, causing the seasons to come and go, tides to come in and out. It's breathing you, beating your heart, growing your hair and fingernails, digesting the food. The one essence, patterning, shaping, forming, experiences everything. So what you are seeking, you already are. And so you must recognise from that the search itself, if you're in any search, is the problem. And we need to investigate and see, am I this body? Am I this mind? Am I this person? We all say, I am. And what's that I am? It's a thought. how many thoughts were you born with? You go back and try and remember, you realise you weren't born with any thoughts. You didn't learn any words or thoughts till you were about 2.5, somewhere around that age. Some of you might have been a bit younger, if you're a bit smarter, or others it might have been a bit later. But until that, we learnt that word, I am, how could you say that you were? Didn't have the word. And didn't pick up any words till you were about 2.5. So the first couple of years of your life, you were living without the word. So wouldn't that tell you that you are prior to word or thought, or as we call it, the mind? The mind is nothing but thought. So you are prior to the mind. But we believe we are this mind or person. Where did the word person come from? It comes from the Latin persona, the mask. Saying we've got a conceptual image or a mask of what we believe ourselves to be. And have a look at all these words and you realise that the word's not the thing. Take the word water. Try and drink that word. Swim in it or wash in it. You can't. The word fire. Can you cook with it? Can you burn yourself with it? Can you heat yourself? The word me. Is it what I am? We believe me to be this body, mind. But are you the body? And are you the mind? And innately you know that already. You're not the body because you say my body, my mind. Say my coat, my car, and you know you're not the coat or the car, so maybe you're not the body either. So wouldn't it be wise to have a look and see and recognise whether you are this persona, this mask, this conceptual image, or you are this body-mind? Because what takes place in this body-mind as we see it and believe it to be, all your problems take place in the mind or in the body. The sickness, the illness, the pain, the thoughts, the misery, all taking place in this body-mind entity we believe ourselves to be. And Wei Wu Wei tells you that when he says, why are you unhappy? Because everything you say, everything you do, and everything you feel is for yourself. And he says there isn't one. There is no personal self. And that needs to be seen by you and me, because you've taken on the belief that you are this person, this self. But when you look into the ancient texts and scriptures, they'll tell you that there's only the one self, the Atman self, the Brahman self, or the Vishnu self, or the Shiva self, one self, that pattern, shapes and forms, experiences, expresses as everything. And have a look at his manifestation. And you'll see that this whole manifestation, all the things in it, we've got labels or words on. And we discriminate it all with the words. And if the word's not the thing, can the pattern, shape and form be the thing either? It can't be. And have a look at that. Can something come from no thing? It's all no thing. What's it all appearing in? What are you and I and everybody in this room in? Aren't we in space? Now, can you grasp that space? Can you pull it apart? Can you separate yourself from it? You'll realise you can't. Does space have any beginning to it? Any spot where you can say this is where it all begins? No. Does it have any boundaries or any limitations on it? It doesn't. But space is empty. It is no thing. You can't put a shape or form on space or any boundaries or beginning or end on it. But everything is the content of space. And you and I are things, as well as the chair, the table, and everything else, are things until we discriminate it with the word. And we didn't learn any words till you were a couple of years, right? When the capacity of reasoning developed in you. Little child was just functioning spontaneously, naturally, and effortlessly, until his parents fussing around him, started saying these words, and he learned some of the words. And the capacity of reasoning developed him, and he believed that I think. This is me. Parents told him, gave him a name or a label, and I am little Johnny or little Billy or little Jane or whatever my name might be. So we've taken on these words and taken them to be real, and now we believe we are separate entities, individuals, persons. But so everything is the content of space, and space is no thing. Can something come from no thing? Well, you see, it can't. It can't come from no thing. And if everything is no thing, so all this space, including you, me, and all the other things, are really no thing. That's not what we are. What must you be? You must be that essence itself. The life essence that's patterning, shaping, forming, and expressing as this manifestation. The cosmos, the earth. And it's all that. That's the great mantra that they tell us. I am that. Pointing out to you there and then what you actually are. You are that already. And we've got all these other things, and you say that's the chair, that's the carpet, that's the tree, that's the flower, that's the space. Everything is that, which we discriminate with the word. And the word's not the real. But with that discriminating, we've seemingly separated all these things. We believe we're all separate entities, individuals, persons. And so that believed in separate entity, with the sense of being other than the one in essence. One essence is appearing and everything. And you don't know what all these things are especially when you're a little child. The sense of insecurity comes upon you, and vulnerability. The sense of separation. And we learnt more words. Nobody tells us to investigate there and then. Look into it and see for yourself. I tell you, pick up a few more words, learn words, and put these some of these the concepts of these words and put the meaning into them. And the words fear, anger, depression, guilt, shame, remorse, unhappiness, this, that and the other. Have a look in this manifestation. We're labelling everything. And the words are not the real. As I say, take the word water, you can't drink the word fire won't burn you. So the word's not the thing. But we believe it to be a thing. We've taken on the belief. And I tell you that, look in your dictionary and see what a belief is. The definition of belief is an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. Means we haven't looked at it, we haven't worked it out, we've taken it for granted. And it goes on to say acceptance of an alleged fact. It's not the fact, it's only an alleged fact, without positive knowledge or proof. Well, you put your belief to that test and see what happens. And they tell you that too. They say the false cannot stand up to investigation. So all these false concepts and image we've taken to be true, if they're not investigated, they'll seem to be real. And we'll get locked into them, of course. But a little bit of investigation and seeing for yourself and realising that you are that one essence that they talk about. I am already that. And you've probably heard it over the years, like I'd heard it many times in the church. I am that. Oh yeah, that's a good one. And the story's told about the fella that was seeking truth, and he went to this guru, and he said, the guru, pretty well known guru, had a big following, and he said, I want to know truth. And he said, all right. He says, you are that. And he said, oh, I've heard that before. And he says, that's the only truth I've got. And he says, there's a guru down the road, go and see him. He's got a big following. The fellow says, okay, I will. So he headed off down the road, met up with this other guru. And the guru says, well, what have you looked at? Where have you been? Well, he said, I've been to the guru down the road there. And this guru knew that the other fellow knew what he was talking about. And he said, oh, well, you come to me, you'll have to serve me for 12 years. And he says, okay, anything for truth, I'll serve you for 12 years. So he called the ashram manager over and he says, what jobs have we got? We've got to do a bit of savour, a bit of work, you know. And he says, the only job we got left is picking up the cow shit. Well, he says, that's your job. And the bloke says, okay, anything. So he started picking up the cow shit, and he's doing it for 12 years. It's only 12 years. Well, he says, Master, I've served you faithfully 12 years and worked so hard, and now tell me the truth. And the guru said, thou art that. And this time he heard it. Softened up to take in a little bit of what he heard, and heard it. So that's what goes on. We all hear this message that you are that, and then we go on a search, trying to become, trying to find the answer in the mind, become realised or enlightened, and it doesn't happen. Some of us might be lucky enough to see through it after a time, but the majority of us are still seeking 20, 10, 20, 30 years later, still seeking to become something, not realising that what they tell us and what you take yourself to be is a human being. And being can never become anything, because becoming implies a future time. So we call ourselves human beings and we believe in this higher power or God or something we're searching for. We call that the Supreme Being. This God is a greater being than what we are. So that's the Supreme Being. I've got to find this Supreme Being. But what happens if you look at that being and take the word human away from it? And then look at the Supreme Being and take the word supreme away. See if you can separate the beingness right now without those two concepts onto it. Aren't you all being right now? Again, but pointed out earlier, it's all that. And you already are that. So the thing is, recognise it, you need to stabilise it. Keep questioning and recognising until it's an absolute certainty. It's stabilised and there, and you know for certain that is what I am. That is what everything is. And I am that. And that's an old saying too, you'll read it in a lot of the scriptures. I think it was Moses or somebody on the mountain, I don't know if it was Moses or Abraham or something. He's got a mob of Jewish people there that have been kicked out of their home. He's looking after them there and they're all running wild, doing all sorts of things. And he said, well, we've got to bring about some sense of order to this because I can't carry on like this. So he sat contemplating things and came up. So,
The Ten Commandments.
yeah, the plates, the Ten Commandments come up. Go back and tell them this. He says, well, I've got to tell them something, and they're not going to take any notice of me. So who shall I say sent me? And he's worrying about this, and it came to him there and then. Tell them that I am sent you. And he realised, well, shit, I am that I am. That's what I am already. And that's what we all are. And that's what we need to realise. This separate entity, when you investigate it, you'll see it's not true. Am I this body? Asked you that before. And you say my body, my mind. You also say my coat, my car, my house. And you know you're not the coat, the car or the house. Well, look at it like that. Well, maybe you're not the body either. And when you investigate it, you'll see that you're not the body. What's this body made up of? And when you're going to break it down, this body's made up of elements. Air, earth, fire, water, space. Just like the elements you're sitting in right now. Sitting in space, there's air in space, there's clouds, there's water, water in the clouds, water, sun, and then all in space. All these elements can be broken down into subatomic particles, into pure energy. So now this body we're taking to be real is just a vibrating pattern of energy. But it seems to be real. And when you look at it, that energy or life, if it wasn't patterning through it, could it be there? And could it know or understand any of these words at all? So it's all the words, the elements can be broken down to subatomic particles, and the words into subatomic particles into pure energy. So the word is just a vibrating pattern of energy, which we take to be real because it seems real. What about this thing called mind? And again we say, my mind. Well, show me your mind. If you believe you are this mind, show it to me. Can you show me such a thing called mind? And there is no such thing, you realise there's no such thing as mind apart from thought, what we think about it. And again, if mind is thought, which thought would you be? You'd be this I thought, wouldn't you? Me, I. But if you were that thought, you'd be frightened of giving it up. Yet you gladly give it up every night when you go to sleep. It's not there. If you were that thought, it'd be the end of you. But it's not. So you recognise you're prior to the thought. You're not the thought. And again, look at this mind, thing we call mind. What is it? Made up of words. Every word you've ever spoken or likely to speak has been picked up along the way. You weren't born with it, it's been learnt. And the word's not the real. Because what is thought? You realise that thought is a vibration, a sound. The air going through this voice box right now enables these sounds to come forth, words. So all the words can be broken down into vibration, sounds, energy. So it's all that vibrating intelligence energy. I call it intelligence energy because the way it functions implies it's suffused with an innate intelligence. Not your intellect, but intelligence. Intelligence is knowing. And every one of us is knowing that you are right now. And knowing is intelligence, because you're knowing this, knowing that, and all these other things we know. And activity. Any activity is something that's happening right now. Any activity is a movement. Any movement is a vibration. So that's all this intelligence energy that's vibrating, patterning, shaping, forming, experiencing, expressing and everything. And didn't Einstein tell you this? When he said everything can be broken down to energy, everything. And you and I are things, the same as every other pattern, shape, form are things. So, again, be what you are, not what you contrive or think you are or trying to be, which gets you into all trouble, all sorts of trouble, problems. Know the truth, as they say, and the truth will set you free. Free, what needs to be free of? Free of the belief that you are the separate, you are something different from what you really are. And I can tell you this, that it can be so. It can be happening that you are free of the concepts and the belief. And you look into some of the scriptures and things down through the ages, and you'll see it's been seen through many times, be put out there in different religions, different texts, and all sorts of things. And a lot of it gets corrupted and contaminated, but there's a good amount of it there that's still in its natural state. So it needs to be recognised, recognised. The Buddha called it a cognising emptiness. And we think we cognise that emptiness. We don't. It's the emptiness itself that has that capacity of cognising or knowing. And he made the statement there and then that emptiness is form. And he turned it round the other way and said the forms can be nothing other than the emptiness. Tells you in the Hinsing Ming thing, that emptiness here, emptiness there, that the infinite universe stands ever before your eyes. No difference. It's seen through and recognised. It's only that one infinity. So that's what we point out and ask you if you're interested to look at and see for yourself. Test it out, because that's where the freedom, peace and joy is, in that recognition of your true nature, your natural state. That's why they call it the natural state, as in nature. See nature, the earth rolling around the sun, the seasons coming and going, the tides coming in and out, all happening in nature. And it's that same intelligence entity that's breathing you. It's beating your heart. It's growing your hair in your fingernails, digesting your food, living and expressing as you. And you are that. So that's what I point to and ask you to look at it. And there's people in this room that have seen it and recognise it. Others might be having a bit of problem with it. But you're here having a look. That tells me that you're not happy with the way things are outside there with the religions and being a sinner and a bad person and all these things. The late intelligence in you was letting you know there's a little bit more to it than that. And you listen to this, you might go a little bit further or you might look somewhere else. But at least you're looking, and that's the main thing. And the false can't stand up to investigation. And the great call is know the truth. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Free from the belief that we're bound in this cage of concepts, the believed in person, the separate entity. And it's not so. So away you go.
Thank you.
Kat will get some questions that are there.
Hi everyone who is here and online. We have few welcoming messages from few people, and we have hello Bob and Kat. I feel so grateful when I'm able to spend an hour listening to you both. It has become my peaceful, happy time. And apart from that, we have no questions. So that's the time for you to share, ask questions, tell us how you go about it, what you have recognized, what resonates, what doesn't, what you would like to perhaps go a little bit deeper into, or just share something that's going on, something that seems like could be seen in a better way, something that you struggle with, and it is really just a shift of perception. It really is, rather than relating everything to the imagined personal self, is to be able to see the unfolding within that field of consciousness which you are. So give us a direction.
Yeah, when I drove here in the morning, I recognized that and one emotion I recognized that which I don't even know how to say it, but I recognized that emotion in relation. Heyman told me something, and I had an imagination in my head. What's maybe going to be after the meeting, and then I realized that it's just imagined and not real. So by me just realizing, okay, it's imagining that, and then if that is going to be happening, then what's not happening, that causes an emotion coming up, and then to be actually in peace with, if that may happen, which I don't want, then if I'll be in peace with that, what is, means always be in peace with everything what is, be okay, leave it as it is. It gives actually that state of nothing is wrong, like it's all perfect, and the only thing what makes it do it is the mind saying, but I had that idea, I want to do this or this and this and that. And every time that comes in, then the state of freedom changes to not being okay, and then so it's bouncing back and forth. Yeah, that's what I noticed today, and yeah.
Yeah, that's a good insight, isn't it? It's nice to know. Initially, we are not even aware of that constant commentary that constantly projects something, that this is about to happen or that's about to happen. We're not even realizing that this is going on. And as much as this is not a bad thing, that that machinery is predicting future. Without it, you wouldn't be able to build your van. You wouldn't be able to go for vacation. Those are all helpful traits. The problem starts when we climb them. This is me. This is I. I have this preference. Now this is personal. So if it doesn't happen, I will be the one who is let down, pissed off, betrayed by God or life or whatever. So it is that the difference is the recognition of that personal involvement in the narrative. Because the narrative, having wonderful ideas, oh my goodness, how lovely. Being creative. They all show up as thoughts, visions. Sometimes they show up kinesthetically as an action to move. But there is nothing wrong in any way the mind expresses itself, or so-called mind, the thinking mechanism. The suffering starts when it becomes personal. When instead of seeing, there is a narrative, a commentary about the future appearing in the field of awareness. Well, whether it appears or it doesn't, who cares? There is a field of awareness, that is what I am. And that thought pops in. But what happens usually, the thoughts pops in, and suddenly this is my thought. This is important. This is serious. This is much more important, that thought, than this moment right now. What we're going to do after the meeting is, or what I'm going to order in Sofia for lunch, is more important than being here and listening to the sounds within and without, and just being aware of that unique moment which will never be the same again. So it is lovely to recognize that the narrative is part of the appearance, and it is even better to recognize when this narrative, instead of just being a broken record going in the background, it becomes the foreground. It becomes all-encompassing, attracting all of the attention, very personal, important me story. Mm-hmm. Because when you see it as for what it is, well, yeah, Bob, you know what you're going to order in Sofia? The thought didn't occur, but if it did, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Projecting future is not.
It won't be enough.
It won't be. Yeah, it's not a problem. The problem starts with that sense of, this is mine, this is my thought, This is, the me that owns it, and that me is in trouble, because if it doesn't happen my way, then of course what follows, I'm at odds, I'm at war with life, with reality. So there is, see the split, see what Bob was talking about, the little baby being vulnerable to the world. Obviously, there are forces in the world that can smash the body in an instant, and also can smash the sense of confidence or whatever the image is of oneself. And to be separated from it, that hurts.
I was that's interesting, because when I was there on Tuesday and you said leave the people or whatever the person is, leave it as whatever they want to do, not what I want to do, then that's what real love is. So that means the real love is then within me, because I leave it as it is. So then I don't alternate and do all this, so it's not the other person is projecting when I love them. It's like actually in me, myself, because I'm in peace with everything what is real. So it's actually not the other person itself, is within yourself. I just realized that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. If you were nothing, if you were just space-like awareness, then there is no personal agenda. In that space, whoever and whatever appears, that's the beloved, and you support them. And
it's also interesting because my sensations are different now. It feels like warm everywhere, constantly, like in my heart and my hands and my legs. Everything is just warm. So it's very interesting.
Beautiful. Tristan.
Thanks, Steve. This week or last night, I was thinking about two types of love, and I think my understanding got mixed up between the two. So the first one was unrequited love. Unrequited, so it's one-sided love. So you love someone else, but they don't love you. And then the second one was unconditional love. And unconditional love is you love someone but without any conditions. So if they love you back, it's fine. If they don't love you back, that's fine too. So I didn't realize my whole life pretty much I only knew about one kind of love really, and that was probably the requited love. So you send it and then you get something back. Now there's like so many different types, and unrequited love for yourself. If you have unrequited love for yourself, that means you somehow you love yourself, but you don't love yourself at the same time back. If you have unconditional love for yourself, then whether or not you love yourself back, it's all fine. It doesn't go away, and it stays here. So that I thought that was an example of dualistic and non-dualistic ways of loving and being. Yeah. So that's it.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
It's gorgeous. You want to comment on that, Dali?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. Okay, so thank you. That was lovely. I have a couple of comments from Yelena. At least you were looking. That's what's important. We forget this little pointer often. I think that was to Joseph. And Serena says, "Hi Bob and Kat. My question today is whether it is so that I am simply addicted to mind, to being an entity. If that is true, how do I cease picking up my drug, meaning the belief in the entity? And then there's someone, John, is answering that, who is addicted and who is going to cease the addiction? And then Zulma says, it is very simple to miss what's already here happening. And Tanya, one way to take the attention away from the thoughts is noticing the sensation in the top of the head and feet at the same time, and also noticing the breathing at the same time. It is an exercise that has been immensely helpful here for calming and then looking at the truth instead of being lost in the story is possible here. This exercise reminds me of Bob's pointer, what is wrong with right now if you don't think about it? And Kevin says, thank you for sharing this message from Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. I read this week, hold on to the sense I am tenaciously. Do you have any advice to share for staying present with this sense without transitioning to thought? And Byron says, in reality, looking out in the world, we are likely to change. That was a question. However, we do seem to enjoy entertainment, sharing about ourselves and connection. Yes, so that was quite a few answers to Serena about the addiction to thoughts. And interesting, and I hope, Serena, it had some resonation, because everyone, it's not just Bob who gives the right answers. Everyone innately know that you are that, you know that you exist. So that knowing sits within everyone. And it's just through some vehicle you hear the message and it doesn't strike the chord in the heart, and through others it does. So that was truth with every single response that could be practical. You can certainly view that the body-mind is somehow hooked or addicted into that selfing mechanism, into creating the mental image. Because, well, when you think of a different definition of what addiction is, well, you could debate, but yeah, you could view it this way. And then how to break the addiction? Good question. Who is to break it? To realize that it is a mechanical process which nobody does. If you realize that there is no you who is following the thoughts, it's just thoughts showing up on the screen, then there is no you who can stop or who should stop following the thoughts. They will still be showing up on the screen. But realizing that there is no self which owns the thoughts takes the sting off them. Because now, instead of the thought saying, oh, something's wrong, or I am wrong, something wrong with me, now that thought is not the truth. It's just a thought. It's just, you could speak it in different language. It doesn't matter. It's not personal. So it really is about simple recognition, moment to moment. And as Tanya was showing, disengaging the attention from excessive thinking. Bob has this pointer, keep the 5 senses wide open and unfixated awareness whenever you can. And that is also the answer to Kevin, who was asking about the advice how to stay with that sense of presence. When the awareness is unfixated, when you are aware of the sounds, of the sights, of the bodily sensations, of everything, then there is not much of the processing available for imagining, for thinking about past and future, because attention is already scattered, busy with what is happening. So there is not much attention left for what is not happening. Past and future is not happening. And in that way, to be aware of the presence when you're not hijacked by that entertainment services, the mind, is simple and obvious. It's really, can you not be present? It's just when the attention rests in that presence, when it is not engaged in the imagining, in the past and future. It naturally rests there. And the moment when every one of us had the moments of like really blissful union with the world, when we were mind blown by other sensory experiences, by seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, beautiful landscape, or the face of a beloved, or the laughter of a child, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, you are fully present with whatever's happening. And then the attention necessary for imagining that there is someone inside who is inferior or who is sensitive or who is weird or strange, that attention which is imagining that entity is not there, and that is it. We think there is something more to it. No, it is about realizing that this moment as it is perfect, and it is as it is, without imagining that there is me who is interpreting this moment, without imagining that this is personal to that self, that entity. We do not imagine that entity for probably a lot of moments through the day, but we don't even pay attention to it. We don't even find it important. So then the suffering kicks in, and it feels, no, I suffer all the time. Narratives going on all the time. Everything's about me all the time. No, it's not. It's nice to actually notice when it is not. It's nice when you walk in the park and listen to your favorite music or hear the birds, and then you feel that you don't imagine yourself to even be the body. You are just that field of awareness moving. That's it's just simpler than the explanation can ever say. Everyone knows this already. Byron says we are likely to change. Are we likely to really change? Well, Byron, I don't know if you have experienced something that has not changed or what doesn't change. It is like the most well-known principle of Buddhism, impermanence. Everything's transient. Everything is nothing that doesn't change. And perhaps you mean something else, whether we change as, men can change to woman, well, that's not impossible either. And should we face this challenge that maybe we will never change? Yeah, well, I don't know what you mean we, because as the space, yes, that's right, space doesn't change, it never changes. And is that really a challenge for who? For space? For nothingness? Everything else apart from space changes non-stop, constantly. As Bob says, you walk in the room and an hour ago you had 1 trillion cells less. They all died and been replaced. The body's changing, thoughts are changing, feelings are changing. So you're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings, you're not your body. And what doesn't change, yeah, let it not change. And Vivek says, when Nisargadatta Maharaj saying, I am, that is not I, the body, mind, entity. It is the entity-less, formless, universal I. Just know this reality and relax. Beautiful. Yeah. That, Bob often says, is a translation as close as you can get with the thinking to translate that innate sense of presence, sense of existence. If you want to talk about it or think about it, you say, I am. But it doesn't mean the I inside, the little human in the head or in the heart who pulls the string. It means that aliveness or being. You want to say something?
No, you said it.
It's always better when you say it. Yes, say it.
I can only say what I've said before. All the one essence.
All the one essence.
Nothing separate and apart from it. Everything is that.
I might just add to
Yeah.
Add to that.
Yeah, not add to it. Just to put it in a different way, I kind of was looking at the fact of, there was a question in the online about how to stay in the present. And I find that the mind always has the idea of attainment.
Yeah.
You know, as Bob said, it's just about, you know, being, but the mind, because it's conditioned in that way, that we always want to get or attain, make it into an attainment.
Mm.
And that's what the mind does. It's the habit of the mind. It's the way we're taught, like we're always learning something to get something, and then to apply it to this as an attainment, it just doesn't work, because it's not an attainment. And, you know, we tend to fall into that trap. I've noticed it. You know, I want to get there. I want to become that. And that's the mind just chattering away, and that's how it works. And to sort of understand that sort of constant becoming, constant thought, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not there yet, or how do I stay in the present, is just the mind wanting to attain again.
Mm.
So that's kind of interesting to look at how that works, the falseness of it.
Yeah, Mark, did you want to say out loud what you were
No,
saying? Just say it.
yeah.
Have a mic, because that's a good point.
Well, Hale Dwaskin, who is, I'm part of the
I think
Sedona
he heard
Method
it from
coaching.
Bob. You can't
And
get
from
out.
Bob, because Hale, in fact, I would just want to point out a blessing, Bob, because of Hale talking about during coaching and in a lot of seminars at Sedona Method, always mentions you in the book. And as you know, back in 2018, I found out, oh my God, Bob lives in Melbourne. And I started coming to these in 18, 19, 20, missed it. Now I'm back. And these are like great present moment pit stops of peace, love, and joy to be with you and everybody else. But the whole thing is, people go, how do I get in the present moment? How do I get in the present moment? The mind is saying how to get in the present moment, but really ask the mind. You can't get out of the present moment. All there is this. And you have to fall in love with what is as it is. Because if not, you're going to argue with reality and lose, but only 100% of the time. So what I've done too in all this, Bob, is one of my favorite non-duality truth pointers is full stop when the mind is going there. Another one comes in a version of there is peace, love, joy, and happiness here now, or the veiling of it. The only thing that veils it is the conditioned mind, perception, and thoughts. So I never mind the bullshit mind as best I can anymore, because it's based on belief systems, and I believe nothing, I go only by experience. So, you know, in this moment, all is well, no worries, all is love. And if there's a blip or something in going on, it just means that there's a story being told that has nothing to do with the present moment. And what I also ask my mind is, if you know what tomorrow's going to bring, I want the Powerball numbers and the Mega Million numbers. But to this day, hasn't happened.
Beautiful.
Thanks, yeah.
Beautiful.
This kind of connects to what Joseph was talking about, and everybody, I guess, is that, like, here, when listening occurs, there's some thing that's always trying to differentiate good and bad, right and wrong, yes and no. This is included, this is not included, or I'm speaking because I wish love or attention or to be correct or to woo other people. But connected back to what Bob said, like, it is whole and complete, including the me, including the dream, including speaking because I just want to look like I know what I'm doing, or some mix-up with a loved one, or somebody being pissy, or thinking everything is shit, or thinking everything is beautiful. Like, to the absolute, there's no differentiation. Everything is included, everything is this. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
You know, as Bob said, investigate the mind, and you know, it won't stand up to investigation. And really, that's what we have to do: go in there and look at it up closely, and see what the mind is. And it's not actually a thing at all. It's a little bit like that chyron you see on the bottom of the TV. You know, the little text that's coming by. It comes out of nowhere, on the edge of the TV screen. It's illuminated for a little while, and it's gone again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a thought is.
Yeah.
It's a narrative. If you listen to it, you'll find there's a voice in there which sounds like you that's talking. And those words arise and they set, and the images come with them. And they arise and they set. What sees those images?
Mm.
In Hinduism they call it the third eye. In English we call it the mind's eye.
Mm.
And it's singular, right? It's not eyes, it's singular. There's something in here that's singing, but it's not a thing. There's something in here that's hearing, and it's not a thing. Because if you go look for it, you can't find it. What you find is infinite emptiness that has no content and no duration. In its essence, it's without content and without duration, yet it manifests here as this consciousness. It sees, it hears, and it manifests the person, because that narrative is the person. If you take away that narrative, I'll guarantee you that person will be absent.
Yep.
So you've got to do the investigation, go in, have a look, because once you understand the process and the mechanism, and you see that you are that third eye that's seeing, you are that singularity that's seeing and hearing, then all your thoughts are completely objective. And you know, I'm not that, I'm not that. You know, netty, not this. No phenomena, I am no phenomena. Anything phenomenal, I am not that. And what you are, you can't really know, because you are it. You're being it. It'll never be objective to you. All this talk about knowing the self is bullshit. No one will ever know the self. Sorry to break the fantasies. So yeah, you've got to investigate and go directly, go in there and see what's happening, what's seeing, what's hearing. See those vibrating, those words come out of nothingness and vibrate into existence and then disappear back into nothingness again, at the source.
Mm. Beautifully put.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a couple of comments also from our online community, and this is John answering to Byron. Again, not trying to be Johnny, one note here. But who is going to change or not change? Every time changes except everything changes except silence and space. Yep, beautiful. And Byron says, we are not running now. Are we not running? Right here and now. Yeah, depends who you consider yourself to be. If you are a thought, you're running. But if you are the awareness of thoughts, you are still. Tanya, I can see it is that simple, but it can seem to take a long time to see that, Vivek. I am not seeing that yet, but no, it is possible. And Vivek says, just be. Yes, so the idea that you are not seeing it or this is just another thought. See, when that thought is absent, seeing is happening. Seeing is happening. But now there is an idea that there is some it that you need to see, something in particular that you need to see. You need to see that thoughts are only a thought. So you need to see that I cannot know itself. Those are all thoughts. In the absence of thoughts, seeing is happening. And in the absence of thoughts, there is no question. Am I seeing the right thing? Am I the right thing that sees the right thing? No, there is no question. There's nothing wrong. It's just the natural state of seeing, hearing, being. It is much simpler than the explanation, of course. It's nothing to see. I don't see it yet. Maybe I'll see it later. Maybe I'll see it in future. Like Catherine was saying, maybe I'll become the right person. Maybe my mind will become trained or purified or cleaned up or whatever. Mind is blind. Mind is like a radio. It basically transmits the frequencies. It doesn't have any eyes. It can't see. It can't think either. is totally mechanical functioning. So seeing with the mind or through the mind, that is not going to happen. Mind is the interpretation of impulses that are resting on senses. So really, without engaging with any narrative, seeing is happening. What is seeing? Who is seeing? When? How? What? Those questions are thoughts. If you look at those cats roaming around this room, they don't have questions. They live in the natural state, non-stop. And so are we. Only it is veiled. Who was saying it, veiling of it, Mark?
Yeah.
Is engaging with the narrative. Narrative is useful, makes you remember shopping list, but it is not you. I like, Tazi, when you say, oh, it sounds like it's my voice. Some people
if you
can
listen,
actually...
it sounds like your voice in here telling a story.
Some people can even hear their parents, you know, or their teachers.
Well, if you're having a dialogue in your mind, you hear the other person talking back to you. You know, there's a dialogue going on in here. You know, there's two voices and an interaction, seemingly, and it seems like they're people.
Yes.
You know, but they're not.
Yep.
Just consciousness vibrating into sounds which have meaning and then dying away again. And creating this whole little world, little drama, you know, internally, which is not real.
But that
it's not real out here either, actually.
Of course, yeah.
You know, this is the one that drives us nuts most of the time.
But I actually love really what you just said about, this is a great insight and I think is superbly useful. When you have the dialogue in your head with another person, imagining that, oh, I say this and they answer that, they're not there.
No, of course they're not.
And neither are you.
Neither are you.
Neither are you. So to actually see how it is all just a imagination, a daydream, and sometimes a nightmare. I mean, daymare, whatever it is. But it is a dream, just like the other person is not there. Neither are you. And then, you know, when you say this sounds like my voice, well, how do you really know how your voice sounds? Because apparently, and then performers can tell us about it, Jane can tell us about it, you know, how you hear your voice recorded and it is not the same voice. I can't listen back to the videos, that I can't. It doesn't sound like me,
Well, another interesting part of that is that voice in there, you know, it's this voice here, the lungs are compressing the air and forcing it across these vocal cords and making a vibration which goes over there and goes in and travels into your brain and you hear me speak.
That's right.
But this voice in here, there's no vocal cords being used. All the sounds in here are unstruck.
That's right, yeah.
So what's the source of those sounds? There's no physical source of them.
Right. That's an important realization too.
And they come out of no thing. They are no thing, becoming something.
Just like you're dreaming at night.
No.
And you see the places and you interact with people. Bob has this beautiful saying about body lying flat on bed, while the dream body climbs the mountains, have sex, flies, does whatever, run from the predators. The dream body, which doesn't exist, doesn't have any physical reality. And there are sounds happening, there are scenes, all of it. And the same as the daydream.
There's a great symbology from Hinduism where Shiva is laying prone on the deck, on the floor. He's not moving.
Yeah.
His third eye is open.
Projecting.
And the goddess Shakti comes out of his navel and dances the world while he watches with a singular, with his single eye.
Beautiful.
And that's an analogy of what's actually happening in here.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
That's why they use that analogy, because it's a perfect metaphor, or whatever the right word is, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a perfect metaphor.
But that's what's actually happening here. There's a singular nothingness which can see, which is seen.
Yeah.
This whole dance, which is its own creation. And realizes it's my own creation, but I'm not that.
Yep.
I'm still separate, still independent, still completely whole and complete. And yet when I manifest myself and vibrate myself, a world appears.
Yeah.
And that's me, but it's not me, because I'm still here alone in total completeness, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't shut up.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful and clear. And then you have again the invitation is the world as we see it. That's Maya. That's all illusion. That's all the dance of the of Shakti. It can be experienced through the senses and enjoyed. That is a joy of existence in that seeming duality, in that expression. But the moment this world of this present moment is traded for the daydream or a daymare, now we're missing out on that reality of that plain manifestation. Not reality, is still a Maya, just like in the dream at night. But it is a joy, experiencing and expressing, like Bob says, one essence, experiencing and expressing. That's the only way it can experience and express itself. It dreams a vehicle, it dreams the world, and it interacts in that dream to experience and express. And that's joy, that's bliss, that's the Satchitananda. But instead of that pure joy of existence, of being, in that mysterious appearance, which is all nothing, appearing as something, when that one goes down to that projection and start imagining world on top of this, and miss out on that presence and trade it for the past with all the traumas and all the bad things that shouldn't have happened. And as you say, the dialogues, oh, my boss said this to me, oh, I should have answered that one, oh, I should have done this, or in the future I'm going to do that. And off it goes into the daydream, and off it miss out on this incredible sort of a first generation experiencing an expression. You're going to comment on that now.
And I get over all the bruises.
She loves you. Now we have few comments. Byron Rescue. Ren says, at the core of the cell is emptiness. Beautiful, yes. Byron says, what does not seem to change is our desire for peace and good company and our wish to avoid pain. Well, it can be absent at times, so it changes as well. I can't give a shit about any of those things anymore, do you? So that desire doesn't really... So it can be absent.
Well, it can't be one without the other, but don't separate them.
Yes. And Byron also says, what does not seem to change... Oh, no, that's the same thing. Oh, he said it 3 times. It must be very important. What does not seem to change is our desire for peace and good company and our wish to avoid pain. Yeah, I think it is sort of a universal kind of predicament of everybody. Like if you look at the cat, you can't say that the cat desires to have peace and good company and avoid pain, but it is part of the conditioning of the body. The body is necessary for this experiencing and expression. So the body does have the survival instinct, which makes it safe, which makes it find the situation where it is at peace and when it experiences pleasure and not pain. But our translation of that to an obsession, to a desire, it is something that is not the same intensity all the time. So it also changes. The core of the bodily behavior or bodily conditioning for itself, yes, you can say the body has that condition of survival. Although even that changes, because even amongst animals, unfortunately, treated very, very badly, they are noted events of not wanting to be, the suicides, the running out of pain to non-existence. But that's besides the point. What doesn't change is the awareness that knows of all the changes, that knows about desires coming and going, intensifying, coming strongly. I don't know about the desire to peace and company when we go to sleep, the deep sleep with no dreams. So there is a knowing of those desires. And Jagannath says, breathe out, zoom out, and you see the galaxies. Breathe in, say Om, you see nothing. Shunyata of Buddhism, that is the reality or truth. Yeah, you could have the perception exercise if you like. It's fun. I think I've posted once on that group with Bob's pointers and sharing, because he alludes to that zooming in and out. A little video that people make, zooming out and
Power of 10, I think it's called.
yes, yeah. I did post out and then zoom in and you get into the nothing also. There's nothing up, nothing down, nothing all the way, appearing as something. So that's it for the comments from online. Anyone would like to? We still have 12 minutes. Yeah, Tristan. This way. Yeah.
Thanks. I just reflecting on sort of how often my mind's trying to get out of the present moment, and that's when I feel like I get into trouble is if you go into the past or the future. And the past is nothing new and the future's a big mystery anyway. It's all steps along the journey. You can't stop and start. I think sometimes I want to get to the end too fast, and that's not the way it works. And finding the end of duality in as the end of concepts, like living and dying instead of life, being born, and death. So not really having a beginning and end, just a sort of like a spiral, just going in and in and in, and then when it gets to the middle of the center, it comes out again, and then back in. It's kind of like a journey like that, instead of a linear kind of beginning and end life. Yeah. Anyway.
Thank you. Anyone? Yeah, lovely. It is about cancelling out.
Oh, I think it really hinges on whether or not there is a lineage of causation in time, which is the narrative self. If things are just spontaneous, they arise and they fall, as you said, just as discrete objects in consciousness. If one can simply glean something out of all of that, I think it's worthwhile. It's things are not in a lineage of causation. I think that's the greatest thing to recognise there. One thing doesn't cause another.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, in regards to keeping the attention on presence, one thing that's been popping up more and more for me is just a simple statement which references both, I think, kind of the dual and the non-dual, which is anywhere I go, here I am. So wherever you might go, emotionally, mentally, physically, or in any dualistic aspect, here I am. You never change.
Beautiful.
where you're looking at any of that from. So yeah, that just keeps coming back to me over and over a lot. So it might help someone to ground themselves more in that presence awareness, possibly. So thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Bit sleepy this morning, but nice to be here. The bad news is that there's no one inside that body, and
that's the good news.
That's the good news. I like Paul Hedderman's version or interpretation of like, we've got this virus in us, and it can be recognised it's a virus, and then we can make it better. We can have vaccinations, go to non-duality meetings, conceptualize about it. But there's a possibility that virus can possibly drop off one day, and it's recognised that there was never a virus. I also like Tony Parsons' versions of an open secret. It's there. We already are that, as Bob confirms to us all the time. And it's open, but the bottom line with the virus or the open secret is that you can't get that, because you already are that. So, I wish everyone a happy ending as quick as possible.
Happy Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
You're the rabbit.
We got a comment from JB. He says, I was listening to an older meeting, maybe 5-6 years old, and Bob said, what is happening is beginning and ending simultaneously, which seemed to sort of imply that there is something that is always in witnessing the impermanent and is not personally attached to what is passing and changing simultaneously. Yeah, I think Bob is using that to describe what is the now. Can you pinpoint the beginning of the now? As it begins, it already ends. And I like what Zoro said. Wherever you go, you take yourself with you. There's nowhere that you're not. The witnessing presence is always there. Content is changing, but the witnessing presence is there. And that's it for the comments. So back to you guys.
Well, there's a fun exercise. This hasn't, there's that saying in Course in Miracles, we've given meaning to everything we see. It's one of the early ones. But when you're off somewhere with a friend, I can't remember who told me this, but I've used it before with other people, is have them point to 5 or 6 different things around the room, and your mind come up with different names for all those different things, whether it's a picture, a mirror, or the roof. The mind will stutter because it's so conditioned to want to know what it has given meaning to. And it's another thing about Paul Hedderman saying, travel lighter. It just allows you to realize that the mind has created all these different meanings too, that either can make you suffer or otherwise. And when I talked about never mind, that was what Krishnamurti said was his secret when all these people wanted to know what his secret was. And he basically said, I never mind what happens. And it really means you don't get engaged with the mind. So, and others will say, don't let your thoughts go past your nose. I think that was someone, but it all holds true. So I've taken to heart a lot of what Bob has said, what Hale of the Sedona Method, other people, what all of you have said. It's all golden nuggets for me. And it just, it makes me travel lighter in this crazy thing and wonderful thing called life. So that's it.
Beautiful. Thank you. You say something, Dean?
No, really.
Yeah.
I guess everyone comes, sort of finds themselves in these meetings or online or sitting here, and it comes from like this individual perspective where there's people and we're all searching and looking and trying to become, and then we get these glimpses and insights, and then somehow this sense of a me gets a better understanding and whatever, And then slowly that you just continue to like watch the mind and see the operation of it, and you realise that that's not it. And that's just like, and then eventually that slows down to you realise that all ideas, there's no realizer, there's no me, there's no narrative, the narrative is just a blah 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 blah, and it's just this. And in thisness, there's no separation, there's no, it's like you're saying, you can't label a walk without the word, and then if you don't believe it, you just know that's just a word, and it's like, wow, that becomes magnificent. And I think like there's a saying, isn't it, like about when a child first learns what a bird is, it can never see the bird again. And I can see that's so true, like because I can see the bird again. Like that's not true actually, because you can actually see the bird again, because you don't know there's no me seeing a bird. There's just birdness in the appearance or whatever that is. Then you can actually see the vibrancy and the aliveness of the manifestation. People use the word dualistic here a lot, like sometimes like a bad thing, but this manifestation is dualistic. Like it has to be. It can't be any other way. And I'm just happy to be here and be with you, Bob, and everyone else. And thank you.
Right, beautiful. I love what you said. Do you realize there is no realizer? Absolutely. There is no one who realizes. There is no one. I mean, the realization is that there is no one. It can't be that, I realize, and you didn't realize yet. No, there's no one there to realize. It's just the thisness. That was beautifully said.
Yeah, instead of finding Nemo, there's finding no me.
Brilliant.
I love it. That's a bumper sticker if I ever heard one.
Last word, Bob.
Last word.
For the meeting.
Stop it.
Yeah, that was brilliant when you were saying that situation about the 12 years of service. And then Bob has this Port Newhart joke about stop it. When Port Newhart says, stop it! But then the lady is resisting him and then says, oh, I guess it is a little bit, are we going a little bit too fast for you? Yes! So you don't want to stop it. I do, but you're going a little bit too fast. It is instantaneous. It is right now. It's not like we're going to have a long path and journey. Eventually he got out that, okay, I don't give it to you in 2 words. Just stop it. I'll give you in 10 words. You can write it down. Stop it or I bury your life in a box. Stop it, you damn idiot. Stop it. Just JB says Bob Newhart, stop it. Can't escape the now. Yeah, and who is to stop it? Well, stop even that. Yeah, I posted it on Bob's of that group also. If yes.
Stop it right now.
Anyone who is watching us, if you are on Facebook, you can also sign up for our little community group where we have a lot of nice, sweet pictures of Bob and little memes and fragments of the teachings available. And we have Zoom meetings 3 times a week, and Bob does individual meetings on Skype. So join us, and thank you for your presence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.